Hey, what's up? My name's John. I'm the crypto homie.
Hi, I'm Julian, the Bitcoin babe.
And I'm Jess. I'm with Crypto Consciousness.
Today we have a very special guest, Joshua, with Aster Blockchain Consulting. How's it going, man?
Doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing very well.
Wow.
Thanks for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Yeah,
And
happy to be here.
yeah, so we met you. I met you, I guess, for the first time in April at the Bitcoin Ben event. And
Yep.
was that your first event in April?
That was my first event there. Yeah, that was with Ben. Yes, that was my first event. I've been to lots of different other blockchain and crypto related events, but that was the first time for him.
How did you hear about the Ben event?
Through his shows. So I found Ben following Cliff High for a couple of years and got into Bix and Bix to Ben and kind of went from there. Saw what he was doing, saw what he was trying to do. I was like, you know what? I could probably bring some stuff to the table for everyone. So jumped in and here we are.
Yeah, absolutely,
Cool.
man. Well, speaking of, yeah, sounds like you spoke at the last event in July about how long you've been in the space of cryptocurrencies. So could you kind of give us a background in your involvement in that?
So I started mining crypto in late 2011. I was not looking for the financial and benefit from it. At that point, there wasn't really a financial benefit anyways. I wanted to learn what the blockchain was and how it worked and how the technology functioned from a nuts and bolts perspective. I'm a technologist. I've been in IT for more than 15, 20 years, something like that. I haven't calculated in a while, actually. I started playing with that technology and was like, wow, this is going to be game changing for humanity. It's like another version or another layer of the internet. It just kind of made me go, wow, okay, this is going to be great. So I had fun with that. So that was my start into it. And I've never stopped.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you were mining back in 2011. Very cool.
Yep.
What have you worked for any other kind of industry or company in that time, or you just kind of been doing your own thing?
No, I've been in enterprise environments for information technology related stuff. I've done everything from down bottom of the totem pole to I've been head of IT. And I've done all kinds of different engineering in between and, that kind of stuff. It's never a dull moment, and I absolutely love it. So I have been doing that for a long time. I started building computers, selling them, and doing technical support at the age of 14. So that was a lot of fun as a kid to actually get in there and play with that kind of stuff. So
cool.
So yeah, Joshua, the first thing, because I met you at the April event as well, and we immediately started talking about security because I was picking Divvy Daddy's brain, and then I started talking to you, and I was really curious about. My crypto portfolio was growing at that point. I started investing November 2020, and then I just started really ranking up, putting in as much as possible, and I got to the point where if something happened, I would get really nervous. And so when we were talking, I was like, this guy's a real deal. He knows what he's doing as far as security. And then when you gave your talk on Friday at the event, so many people had questions. And that's why we want to bring you on the show, because it was such a great encompassing conversation and presentation that you had. But I think if we kind of break it down and look at the beginning parts of it to really help people, where do I start and how do I do this today? And I think some of the stuff probably went over my head and maybe some of the other people's heads as well.
Sure. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
As I say, for security with crypto, really, and this is going to be trivial, but just don't be stupid with it. So I like to use the example of you have a banking account number, which you go and talk to tech support somewhere and them ask you for your bank account number. Would you give it to them? Probably not. It's the same thing with crypto. You have your account numbers are your private keys or your seed phrases. You don't give those out to people. Just don't. You got to think like you're a bank, because you are. You're no longer having somebody else hold your money whenever it comes to this stuff. You are your own bank at this point. So, yeah, that's kind of rule number one. But when it comes down to security, there's lots of ways to keep yourself safe.
So
and something when you say, sorry, go ahead, John.
I was just going to jump in. Just so for anybody who doesn't understand what seed phrase or keys are, Joshua, could you explain how those are created by wallets?
So when a wallet is created, you have a public key and a private key, very much like a certificate of authority in the IT world. And that represents you. The pair of those together represents what your wallet is on the blockchain. Your public key is where people would send crypto to you, or you would send crypto to that wallet. Your private key is the actual wallet underneath. They communicate with each other. The public key interacts with the private key underneath. And they, as long as you don't give out your private key, no one ever knows what it is. So I and then the seed phrases is a randomized word, 12, 24, and I've seen, I think that's about, I don't think they've gone higher yet. 12 and 24 is typically what you'll have is randomized words that you'll use to restore your wallet if anything ever happened to it. You lost it, you got destroyed, hard drive died, whatever. So that's kind of where those came from and what they're for. They basically represent the entire wallet, the public and private key, and you can use them to restore your entire wallet if anything, if ever needed.
Cool.
And would you say never give out your private keys to someone? Why would anyone be prompted to do something like that? If you know, I shouldn't give this out.
So if someone's trying to hack you, trying to take advantage of you, trying to phishing is a term in the IT world where someone is electronically phishing for somebody who's willing to do something or take advantage of them in some way, form, or fashion where they would give out their keys, give out their information. It happens all the time. Yeah, you get an email with a random link in it, and it takes you to some website, and then you've got a virus on your computer. It's similar with the crypto world. Is you have to be careful. You have to be mindful of who you're communicating with and what they are doing and what they're trying to get you to do for and or with them.
Something that I've noticed too is there's a lot of people out there trying to impersonate public figures. Like Bitcoin Ben shared a story where someone was impersonating him, reached out to one of his followers, and was able to basically get crypto from this individual because they thought it was Bitcoin Ben. And so I see that a lot too. And people that I follow on Instagram, I see impersonators of those people reaching out to me, and I'm like, whoa, I wonder where this is going to go. So sometimes we think, oh, this is someone I know, I can trust them, but it might not be that person too.
Most of the time, people like that are not going to reach out to you unless you've met them before and they know you and they have your personal contact information. If someone like that reaches out to you, it's not them. That's not them.
Yeah. See, I actually had someone have a fake Bitcoin Ben account hit me up right before the July event. And I was like, well, that's weird. But sure. So I had this couple message conversation thinking that it was Ben. And it was the first day of the event. And I looked up and I can see him, and I'm looking in my Instagram and I see someone typing, and I'm like, well, that's definitely not him.
Yeah, you just have to be careful.
Report immediately. But the thing is that all the things that person grabbed, it looked so legit on the page. And if he, she, whoever it was, there were a ton of posts.
It could have been an AI.
It seemed, and it seemed super legit. And it was, so Bitcoin Ben is Bitcoin _ Ben. This person was Bitcoin _ Ben.
Yep. So
it looks almost exactly the same. Yeah.
It's easy to do that stuff. A hacker will utilize that kind of information. Just a rule of thumb, a public figure of any kind, even someone who's on YouTube, will not reach out to you like that. They will not, especially if they start asking for information around what you're doing in your cryptos or who you are, where you live, your phone number, your address, things like that. That is a big red flag. Just ignore it, delete it. Mm-hmm. Don't even open it. Yep. Just make it a habit.
That happened to me in 2018. A fake Bitcoin Ben reached out to me. I think it was via email, and I thought it was legit. And he coaxed me for a couple of days, and he kind of gained my trust. And eventually he started talking about this mining opportunity. and then eventually, convince me. It took probably about a week for me to really get me to that point to trust this person and ultimately send that person some Litecoin. Fortunately, it wasn't too much, but it was a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, those kind of things, it's kind of hard to live with. At least it wasn't you doing something to lose your stuff there. Someone else was literally deceiving you effectively.
Right.
It's like Ben said, they're the scum of the world. They take advantage of people, and people are gullible to not they're gullible, but not they're enough to the point to where it's like they think they're trying to take the proper steps, but even they do such a good job at convincing. It's like you forget to think, wait a minute, they're not going to reach out to me. It's like one of those moments where you have to just really take a step back and just think about, okay, would this person talk to me? Why are they talking to me? They're not going to do that. This is a rule of thumb.
And I'm just so glad you mentioned that, John, to show it's not just people that are 75 years old and older that are getting phished. It's people like you and me where they can really convince us. So we have to always be on point, really think through things because it can happen to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely.
And next, and I also want to talk. So next, I want to talk about custodianship versus storing your crypto yourself. Because I have my cousin has a lot in crypto and he's like, I use a custodianship. I'm more I want to store it myself. Joshua, do you have any advice as far as what you would recommend if someone wants to use a custodian or if they want to store it themselves? And maybe we can talk about the differences between the two, what custodianship is and storing it yourself.
Sure. So when it comes to custodial, basically that means that somebody else, a third party, is holding your cryptocurrency, just very much like a bank or a brokerage account or something like that. More like a brokerage account, right? They're probably gonna have some sort of portfolio, something that where you can earn a dividend or you can earn some sort of interest or something like that off of the crypto that you are holding with them. Something like that. You'll also get the growth as this market grows, and the downside obviously as well. So, but that's typically what that means. Custodials, a lot of times, traditionally, they'll have different types of insurances you can purchase for your holdings. In the crypto world, that's just starting to come on the scene where you can have insurance for what you're holding with them, right? So something does happen, and you do purchase the insurance with them, then they can make you whole with most of the time within the local currency that you're holding your money. So if it's US dollars, they may not be able to make you whole in the crypto world or the cryptos with the cryptos you had in there, but at least in the US dollars make you whole. There's also significant security around the servers and infrastructure behind a custodial. They will take and go at least a smart, wise one. So you've got Caleb and Brown. I know Viva is doing one. Those are the types that I know of right now, at least in the space, where they have different products that they are a custodial that are actually doing a good job with their backends and their infrastructure, making sure it's safe and secure. I know there's others. I can't think of anyone else off the top of my head. I know there's stuff like BlockFi and other ones. Those are more exchange rate they're not exactly custodials. They're more of, let me hold your coins, so I'll give you a dividend or interest on letting me do that, right? Someone like Caleb Brown or like Viva or I know there's another one. I'm trying to remember what it is, but they're going to have your best interest at heart. They're actually going to hold your cryptos very much like a traditional custodial or brokerage account would do, where they protect it and do a really good job and be very vigilant in protecting everything on the back end. Now, storing them and holding them yourself, that is where you become your own bank. Therefore, you have to put the proper security in place, and you have to make sure that you take the extra precautions to make sure that your wallets are offline. Your wallets are not sitting on the phone that you use daily or the laptop you use daily, things like that. So that way they don't get phished and get hacked, right? So that's the kind of mindset. You have to change your mindset. If it's in custodial, you're trusting them. You did your research. They did a good job. Great. If you're doing it yourself, you have to trust what you're doing and when you know what you're doing with it. So it goes both ways. It just depends on what your risk tolerance is. And this is something that I said before. Is your whatever your risk tolerance is where you should go. If you're not If you're not the kind of person that likes to take risk with financials, then let somebody else hold it for you. Insure it, that kind of stuff. If you're more tech savvy or more security savvy, like just in general, right? Do it yourself. It just depends on what your risk tolerance is.
And I think for myself, I am probably going to get to the point where I will want to use a custodial service, because it'll get to that point where I would probably be like totally devastated if I had it all myself and was hacked. And something that you spoke about at the conference too was your home internet connection. And I didn't realize this, but people can find your internet connection and then they can hack into, I think, your computer by connecting to your internet. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes. So if your network is a wide open network, no password, and it's being broadcast from a Wi-Fi perspective, then anyone can connect to it. And then when you're on that network, you can see every other device is connected to that network. And if you know what you're doing, you can connect to those systems on that network in the back end from the background. You'll never see it happen. They'll be looking through your files. They'll be able to find stuff. If you've got a wallet on there, they can pull the whole wallet off. That's not hard to do. So go ahead.
Can they do that even if it is like, you have a password protected Wi-Fi network?
If they're smart and know what they're doing, yes.
Okay. And then is there any way we can kind of safeguard ourselves against that? I think you mentioned making it kind of like invisible, so it can't be searched or it can't be viewed.
So on a Wi-Fi network, there are most routers and service providers offer the ability for you to go in and hide your network. So what that means is you have to log into the router. All routers have a login. It's like a web page you go to, and you can change your settings, put your custom IP addresses in, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of times they will have the ability for you to hide your network, hide your SSID, which is your network broadcasting. And you just have to remember what the name is and what the password is. And when you go set it up on your computer, then you just put it in manually, and then it's connected. So it's not like you can see it, click on it, and then enter the password. You have to actually go in to other networks, enter the SSID properly, and then put your password in. That's just a very simple, easy way for like a drive-by person who's just, I'm going to park in the road in the middle of the night, try to pick up your Wi-Fi, that kind of stuff. But if someone really wanted to, they could find it. There are tools that you could find hidden networks. It's not impossible. Like I said, if someone really wants to, they know what they're doing, they can still get in that way. It's just one of those, I don't want my neighbors seeing this. I don't want them touching it kind of thing.
Well, that was my next question. So you're kind of talking about with the drive-by stuff. So is this proximity based? Does someone have to be within a certain range of your router, or can they, like you were saying, if they know what they're doing, can they do that from anywhere in the world?
So that goes back to the phishing thing. So if they can gain access to your system and by other means via remote, hey, there's a tech guy calling you, hey, there's something wrong with your computer. You get an email, hey, this is Microsoft when it's not, or hey, this is Apple when it's not. We need you to do X, Y, and Z, and they drop into your computer and they're in the background. They can monitor everything on the network from that computer. So this is interesting too. If you have an infected computer on your network already, and you have like a crypto-only laptop or crypto-only device, and that's all you use that device for, if the other device is infected and they're watching and monitoring the network, they can see everything on that laptop anyways. So It really comes down to, you just have to be safe and secure what you're doing at home. That's not to say that's not normal. That part isn't, but it can happen. It's just one of those, just be extra careful and extra vigilant. If you don't like risk and you're holding it on your own device or whatnot, you can put a hotspot on your phone and connect if you need to with just that laptop or something like that, or that device. Those are some thoughts and ideas around having me to isolate the device even more, where it's on its own network. If you're really tech savvy, inside of your router, you can set up a DMZ, which is a demilitarized zone. This is basically its isolation network from the rest of the network in the house. And you can basically make the device only be in that network. So it's isolated. Whenever it comes online, it only hits that network, and then it goes offline. There's nothing else in there, kind of thing. So there's lots of ways to do that.
That's such such great advice. Thank you. And Jess, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but I know that a little while back, Ledger, which is a crypto wallet device, right? Someone was sending new Ledger, like Nano X's, to people that already had them with like a letter that pretty much was stating, oh, something happened in our system and here's a new one for you. Just put in your seed phrases and you're good. And some people lost a lot of crypto that way too. So if, how would you, like, what would you do, or what would you say to someone getting notifications from what they think is something legit? How do you cross-check that?
So again, this goes back to if you're a public figure, a public company, something like that, they're not going to do that. Okay.
Okay.
There will be a public announcement of that. First things first, go Google it. Did this actually happen? Is this real? Most of the time, it's not going to be. And if there's a public announcement from the actual creator of the device or the software or something like that, then go to that location, that company, that whoever's doing whatever, and get it directly from them. You reach out and get it from them. If someone's sending you something, most of the time, it's not them. Just like someone's reaching out to you, then they're a public figure. Most of the time, it's not them.
It's really, it's kind of like a one-way street in this regards, where, again, with any situation, if you ever need to call that into question, if someone reaches out to you, think twice, do some due diligence, see what's really going on. It's usually you have to reach out to whatever party this is to engage in whatever update or getting a new device. Correct. Or whatever it is. It's a good rule of thumb.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
And just for anyone that doesn't know, the Ledger wallet is a cold storage wallet, correct?
Yes, that's a cold storage. That would be considered a cold storage. Yes.
Okay. And then also the last point I wanted to make is about the Amazon Sidewalk update that happened in June, which will allow other networks to join your network without having a password, I believe, which makes you vulnerable. Like if you have any Amazon products in your home, Amazon Echo, Alexa, those are the things that would be using the Amazon Sidewalk. And there is a way to turn that off through the app. So I'll make sure to link that in the show notes for everyone too, because it's something that kind of was like underneath the radar and we should be aware of that, especially if we're trying to secure our internet connection.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't let any kind of devices like that in my house. I used to set up smart homes for a living when I was younger. And I can tell you that whoever you're getting it from is always going to have access to the back end in case something happens. Now, on Amazon or Google, typically that's not really going to be something they do. If something happens to it, they'll work with you to replace the device. They're not gonna touch it from the back end. But if I'm going to do something like that in my house, it's all going to be a closed loop network. It's not going to be something that's going to ever touch outside. But no, I used to set up home automation, home theater type stuff. Like you walk through the house, the lights would follow you and turn off and turn on as you entered rooms, the music, TVs, things like that. But when it comes to to that kind of stuff, just don't bring that in your house. Yes, it's cool, it's a novelty, but it's so cheap. You're kind of giving an open door or a cracked window for someone or something to get into your house from a technology perspective.
I agree with that. And I live with my parents and they're kind of like, oh, we have it, so it's really not in my control. But they got to the point where they were unplugging those devices. Because we'd be having a conversation with Alexa off and then, the advertisements coming up on our phone and we're like, that's really creepy.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a lot of ways to go turn those types of things off, even if you do have it. But at the end of the day, for me, it's too much of a hassle to deal with. I don't want to deal with having there's enough things listening to us and watching us. I just prefer not to purposely go put one in my house.
Invite any more. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And Joshua, what are some different types of wallets that people can use, and the difference between hot storage, cold storage, paper wallets? What would you say is the best? Or
They all have their pros and they all have their cons, right? So I'll start with hot wallets are pretty much what you're going to have like on your phone that you're going to use, or on an exchange that you're going to buy, trade, sell, etc. Cryptocurrency on. Those are hot wallets, right? More on an exchange. When you're doing trading on an exchange, you're usually trading at it's called a derivative, or a representation of the crypto underneath it. And you're not going to create a blockchain transaction until you pull that crypto off or sell it. And then, so those are hot wallets. Those are always on. They're always active. Someone can, if it's online, technically, if someone's trying to get in and take them, then typically that's where they'll start to try to, because it's a hot wallet. It's on. It's turned on, right? It's running.
Yeah.
So with a cold storage, you've got the Ledger and you've got the Trezor. I don't use those mainly because I don't think that they're mature enough yet. And I say that from a technology perspective. Okay, so it works, it does a good job, but it sits on a shelf when you're not using it. And when it needs to be updated, it's usually when you're going to go use it next, and it's going to get updated. Well, if there is a vulnerability out there and you plug it in and you have that vulnerability on your laptop because, I don't know, you went to some website and it dropped on your system, before it updates, it's going to pop into that device and it's going to compromise it and do whatever else with it at that point. I just don't think that's a good way yet to properly do that. Now, the Trezor and Ledger folks, they'll argue that it's safe and secure. And from a standpoint of, you do have to, make sure that it's updated and it's safe and it's secure from, it's offline. Yes, it's true. It is offline. But that connection point, as soon as that happens, if the device that you're connecting to is not updated patch, if it has a vulnerability on it, then you run the risk of everything that's on that device being pulled off, and then you have someone who's pulling your cryptos out of the wallets that those are in, et cetera, et cetera. So as far as cold storage is concerned, take an iPod, an iPad, a phone that doesn't have a cell service, a laptop that you're going to use specifically only for cryptos, and set the wallets up on those devices, right? And then when it's set up on there, the crypto's on there, turn it off, put it in your safe, put it in the safety deposit box, not in a bank. If the bank ever goes down, they're going to raid the safety deposit boxes and take everything they can out of them, et cetera, et cetera. But keep it in your own possession, right? Keep it protected, things like that. That to me is cold storage that you control. That to me is as a device that the creators of that device, especially someone like Apple, they're going to make sure the operating system is up to date. They're going to make sure that the applications that are the wallets that are running on that device are up to date. So when you turn it on, you run updates, and then you go and you use it however you want to. That ensures that the device is safe and secure with the most recent updates and security patches. Whereas, like I said, a Trezor or Ledger, that's going to sit on a shelf. It's not going to get updated till you plug it in. Kind of the same thing, but the device it's not going to have any vulnerabilities because it's sitting in a safe or somewhere else that's, it's offline, right? So that's cold storage. So paper wallets, they're another form of cold storage. They're more of the old school traditional style. That's kind of the way I started things. Is I printed my crypto onto paper wallets that were printed on fire resistant paper, and I put them in a safe just in case,
Yeah.
And that's how I used to keep my stuff. This was back 2011, 2012, 2013, before we really had any crazy cool wallets where you had the restore capabilities and the seed phrases and all that. That's how I would keep things secure and offline. And if I ever wanted to use it, I would just go and restore the wallet to whatever hot wallet I wanted to use it, and I would take it and spend it or trade it or buy other stuff with it, etc. So that's kind of the three different ways of doing things, just to kind of keep things safe and offline and secure.
Okay. And so you had talked about having iPad, laptop, old phones, stuff like that. Say you had an old phone or laptop you used to use. Do you need to wipe that clean? Yes. And then is it good enough to use?
If it's an Apple If it's a Windows, yes. If you erase the hard drive, reinstall the operating system, it should be okay. If it's an Android, Android can have kernel vulnerabilities. So if it's an old phone, make sure that you clear the kernels and reinstall the operating system. So factory resetting doesn't always clear the kernel out. You can choose that as an option on some devices, but not all. So just kind of keep that as a rule of thumb. When I like Apple devices primarily for doing stuff like this because Apple owns the whole stack. They own the hardware, they own the software, and they have a very, very strict program for applications that they allow in their app store. So that's kind of my personal choice when it comes to that. You're always dealing with updates and patches from Windows, and then Android is kind of like Windows, where it can be installed on pretty much any device. And whoever owns that device, they could not patch their BIOS or their kernel or whatever. So it's just one of those things that I feel better with Apple because they own it all, and I've never seen them not side with their customers in a lawsuit or anything like that. They always 100% of the time take care of the customer. So that's kind of my set on that. So
you'd say in general, the Mac operating system security is probably better than most other PCs?
From my perspective, yes. For the past, I think it's 8 years, I have been an Apple device engineer. So when it comes to the phones, when it comes to the operating system, the laptops, I manage those for corporations. Like I said, for the past 10 years, where we use a centralized management system, and we control the security patches, their access to networks, things like that. So as far as vulnerabilities on Macs, there are becoming more and more because they're becoming more mainstream, but they're few and far between.
And also, Joshua, talking about paper wallets, do you know where someone could go to find out more information if they wanted to set something up, or is there a service that will help with that?
So the one I used, trying to remember, I don't remember what it was right now. It was one that Trace Mayer, I think, set up. And it's something Vault or something like that, where you could literally create a Bitcoin paper wallet with it, and it worked really well because you could set it up, then you could delete the wallet and have the paper wallet, and it would never actually be online ever. So I don't remember what it was. I'll have to find out what that was, and we can maybe get that for people later.
Yeah, and we can put it in the show notes too. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
a lot of
cool.
I think Exodus has a capability they're coming out with where you can do that here soon. So if you wanted to pull it offline, there's lots of ways to do it. A simple Google search will show through what you need to do.
I wanted to circle back to the private and public keys, just because something very ironic happened to me just last night.
That's fun.
I was on a boat and dropped my phone in the river, and it's gone now. And
Nice.
So is one of my wallets. And I today found out that I do not have my seed phrases for said wallet. So I lost 10,000 RSR, and I lost, sadly, I did buy a meme coin. I bought a little bit of SHIB. Obviously, I wasn't going to put a ton of money into it. That's my lottery ticket. I'm going to throw it in there, see what happens. But I don't support meme coins. However, I lost. So I didn't lose a ton, but when I first got, it was the Trust wallet. And I was like, I need to write down my seed phrases. I'm gonna do it in a little bit, and I didn't. And now all those coins are gone forever in the river. And so I just wanted to come back to that and talk about how important it is to make sure you have them written down. And I think that was really good what you said about using flame retardant paper or flame resistant.
Right, flame
paper.
resistant. It's not proof.
Yeah.
It doesn't burn quickly.
My other question involving that is, if you have your cold storage at like a device in a safe, what if your house catches fire? Would that burn up any of the mechanism of that device?
Most safes are fireproof to like if you have a really nice one, you can get it for several hours. Especially like gun safes, things like that, those have a very high flame resistance. Just because you have ammo and stuff inside typically, and you don't need that going off, right? So they typically have pretty high heat resistance. And this goes back to having your seed phrases written down in multiple places, right? Don't just write it down on a piece of paper and stick it in your safe. Don't write it down in a notebook and then just leave it on your desk. Don't take precautions. So there's lots of ways you can store those seed phrases, and I would suggest having one written down on something and put it in the safe. Yes, do that. But
definitely write it down.
Definitely write it down. Whenever you open up a new wallet, before you put crypto in it at all, write the seed phrases down. It should make you do that. It should prompt you to do that. Do it. Make sure that you have it written down. Put it, if you're tech savvy, pull your computer offline, take a notepad or Word document or something, write the seed phrases in that, and then encrypt the device. All computer systems have a way to encrypt encrypt the file. All computer systems have a way to encrypt a file. And then you'll just need to make sure you have that encryption key or password or whatever it is stored also with your other keys, right? And then you can have that put somewhere that you trust, some sort of vault, something like that, where it's electronically kept, but it's also encrypted. Those are a couple ways that you can kind of make sure that you have multiple copies of your keys, but safely keep them. Another thing, you've got family members, let them keep, maybe not let them keep, but ask them if you can put a notebook in their safe, and then kind of have a cryptic way of keeping it in the notebook or something like that. I don't know. Just those are different ways to kind of keep stuff safe and secure.
And when you say encrypt your seed phrase, when you encrypt it, is there why would someone want to do that? And then is there a program that you know of off the top of your head that would do that on a computer? Does Word do that?
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that most computers have a way of encrypting. Like on a Mac, I think you can right click and encrypt, or in Linux, you can right click and encrypt. Well, I don't know if Mac took that away or not, but yes, there are ways in the operating system to actually encrypt the devices or the files. I talk about devices because we encrypt the devices all day long. So the hard drive encrypted too. And the point of doing that is because if it's encrypted, basically you scrambled everything in the file. And even if you opened it up the file, you wouldn't have a clue what was in it. It would just be a bunch of random characters that had no meaning whatsoever to you. That's kind of why you do it. Excuse me. And then just, there are applications out there that you can get to do it. I don't know any off the top of my head that I would recommend, but those are kind of, those are some things you can do just to make sure that it's encrypted. And that means it is safe and secure. It's basically putting a vault on a file.
Right. Well, and everybody's situation is different. I think every individual has to find what works best for them, whether that's writing it down and making copies and storing it, decentralizing, that storage in different locations. And if, your house burns down, at least you have copies elsewhere. But, and like you were saying, if you want to encrypt it, on a device or, and I think there are third-party sort of like password vaults that you can use, but I don't know. Everyone's, tolerance of that is different. So everyone's situation.
Risk tolerance comes back to risk tolerance. What are you willing to, what's your appetite? How are you going to risk it?
Right.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, ladies, do you have any other questions for our good friend here?
No.
All
I think
good?
he explained a lot.
All right.
Yeah. And Joshua, I really liked what you said at the conference too. There's so much information. It can be a little bit overwhelming if people are like, oh, I need to do my internet, and then I need to do maybe a paper thing, and I need to encrypt my stuff. Just take it one step at a time. Make sure you at least do the beginning steps of what we talked about here, and then take it day by day and implement it as you can go. And just be smart. Don't don't do it too quickly. Take your time. I know a lot of people sometimes don't even write down their passwords. So we just need to get in that frame of mind of security and protecting our assets.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
true. Yeah. I would, you guys are out there, you're doing your consulting stuff like that. If people reach out to you, just kind of walk them through doing some of this stuff. If y'all need help, reach out to me. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah. And
I'm
so
glad to do that.
Joshua, how can people get a hold of you? Where can they find you?
So my website is asterblockchainconsulting.com. And I've got scheduling on there, more information about me, some of the stuff that I do and or services I offer, things like that. You guys all are out there doing the same thing. So by all means, if you need help, want help, let me know. I'll gladly jump in and lend a hand.
Absolutely. And this is a community first. You know, we all
Correct.
love freedom, love crypto, and we're here
Correct.
to help. So anybody watching, please, you know, if you have any questions, reach out to any of us. And if we don't know the answer, we'll get you someone that does. And, you know, that's
right.
what is important to us. And we just want the safety and best for everyone that's involved. So,
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, Joshua. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. A lot of great, useful information. And maybe we can have you back on the show sometime.
Just let me know.
Definitely.
Happy to do it.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem.
All right, everybody. Take it easy.
See you later.
Bye.